Hi, my name is Kuhn. I'm a learning design strategist here with SparkLearn. Today, we're going to be sitting down with one of our new clients, King Seafood Company, and talking about why they chose our platform, what they're doing with it, and something that they have learned along the way. I'm joined today by our friend Alyssa Hernandez at King Seafood.
Hi there, Eric.
Hi, how are you today?
Great, nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. So let's start off. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about King Seafood? What are your brands? What's your concept? And just a little bit about the company.
Of course. Thank you so much, Eric. So I'm Alyssa Hernandez. I'm the Leadership Development Manager for King Seafood Company. So our company is truly the house of seafood built. We started with our co-founders and cousins, Jeff and Sam King, who started our company based here in Southern California, Costa Mesa. We have multiple concepts, multiple brands. We have 6 different concepts, 23 restaurants, reaching out to different areas such as Nevada, Colorado, Washington, and of course, California and Arizona as well too. One thing about us, like we're truly just an iconic, elevated dining experience that we'd want to have for all of our community, from local to globally. We really want to focus on sourcing and being able to utilize our fishermen, being able to utilize local fishermen, local vendors, our fisheries as well too, and really be able to give that elevated experience to all of our community.
Great. Awesome. So you mentioned you have multiple brands and multiple locations kind of spread out over what, 5 or 6 states?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I'm guessing that you probably have some unique challenges and unique things that are complications for you with so many brands and so many different locations. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So as you said, we do have multiple brands, from our Water Grill brand, just more of a finer dining seafood concept. We also do have our steak brand, which are going to be more of our dry aging rooms, still focusing on the elevated service and experience we want in all of our restaurants. And then we do have fast casual restaurant as well too. It's our famous burger, Pier Burger on our Santa Monica Pier. And so really branching out from not just seafood, but meat, burgers, steaks, seafood, really cultivating all of that together. And so it definitely can be challenging, especially with those out-of-state restaurants that we do have as well too. How do we get this locally sourced amazing seafood out to those restaurants is something that we challenge ourselves with on a daily basis. So we're able to formulate our own King Seafood distribution for us to be able to work with local fisheries, farmers, and vendors to be able to source our own items, see the product here, see the quality of it, and then be able to send that out to our locations that are out of state to be able to provide that great quality that we're able to get firsthand, no middleman, which has been absolutely spectacular, something amazing that we can bring to the rest of the country.
Awesome. I will add that we had the opportunity to visit one of your locations in Las Vegas, and funny enough, one of the best seafood restaurants I've ever been to in a landlocked desert of Las Vegas. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, you obviously, with the different brands you've got from was it the burger place on the pier to very high-end seafood restaurants. I'm guessing that you as a learning professional have some challenges on the different audiences that you have and the way you interact with them. Maybe talk a little bit about how that difference for you and the way you're getting content out, or were in the past, really led you to think about a new platform.
Absolutely. And so, as you mentioned, we have from the fast casual to the fine dining to the upscale casual. And so how do we relay our message so that way that we can still show who we are as Kings, but through a proper channel? And so this is where we wanted to be able to find something that really was able to connect us on a way that all of our trainers and all of our regional managers were able to be able to find a platform to be able to use that to be able to reach out to them. And that way that we're not updating content on a very archaic basis with Word documents and so forth. We're able to utilize this platform so that way that we can have that one common message is what we want as King Seafood Company.
Great. So I guess let's before we look forward, let's look back a little bit. What were you doing prior, and what made you think, what were the needs that you had that weren't being met before you decided to go to a new platform?
So we really wanted to be able to articulate our branding. And I think that that's something that was really important to us because of the fact that we have so many different concepts, different brands, and how do we still show our brand, but then show who we were as King Seafood Company. And that was something that we were looking for when we were searching for new platform systems. And so one thing that was really great about SparkLearn was the fact that we were able to utilize that, bring it in, and then work directly with the team to be able to help really narrow that down. I think that that's where we wanted that one-on-one, be able to communication with a company to be able to help us find out how can we make our brand really flow in one direction. Where our past one, it was really more of just a utilized system where it was just on a computer, on a laptop, or on an iPad that was just very one-dimensional. And we wanted to be able to incorporate the learner to make them feel that this was something that was really more impactful.
Got it. And I'm guessing you've got a large majority of your users that are probably going to be mobile based as well, right?
Absolutely. They're all going to be in the restaurants. Like I said, we have 23 of them. And so how are we going to be able to reach out to them? So utilizing iPads has really been the biggest way. So the mobile app has been the most helpful.
Great. Okay. So so let's keep looking back a little bit. And when you started the process of looking for something new, what were you kind of the key factors you were looking for? You mentioned branding was a big one and ease of use, but what else helped you kind of determine that SparkLearn was the right fit for your team?
We wanted to be able to incorporate the fact of utilizing videos. Of course, we talked about manning branding, audio, and really just the ease of being able to incorporate those in there. We have so many pieces. I mean, we're a restaurant company where we need to be able to we need visual learners. And that's where being able to utilize SparkLearn was a way for us to incorporate that visual side of it, where a lot of our other platforms weren't able to access that. It was more in the style of, almost like a PowerPoint kind of. And that's not what we wanted. We wanted somebody that was able to bring in our YouTube videos, bring in some audio, bring in a podcast, and SparkLearn really just checked all the boxes. And that's where we really wanted to be able to, that's why we chose you.
Yeah, great. Okay. So now we'll get to the personal for you as the person that's implementing and putting all these things together. What was your kind of initial experience of getting the platform, starting to do some reviews and starting to publish some content? Maybe talk about, some things that you liked or some things that worked really well, and maybe some questions you had along the way.
To be honest, right out of the gate, it was harder than I had expected, to be totally honest. It was difficult from someone who's not used to using old content, old platforms where it was very just small interface, and utilizing this in the beginning. I had a hard time, but really asking the questions, realizing that I wasn't the expert, and utilizing your team is the one that helped me along the way. Truly being able to work with you one-on-one and have that personal relationship was something that helped me realize, okay, I can do this, number one. And then number two, it made me realize, okay, like this is why I chose this company, because they were so hands-on and so helpful that it got me through it. But I mean, really at the end of the day, the biggest challenge was taking our old content and how our structure was before, and then being able to realize it doesn't have to be that way. And how can I make this to be able to flow in a better format? And so that was probably my biggest challenge, even though your team did warn me how to create the flow. So you did, but thought I could know better, but it was true. You were able to help me to be able to guide me into what our platform needed to be and the flow of how it was. And so really utilizing you was truly, your team was the most beneficial.
Yeah, and we work together quite a bit on that. And I will say, it's hard to take existing content and existing structures and recontextualize them in a lot of ways. And that's something that we've worked with other clients on as well. As I've got things that have been set this way. We've been doing it for 10 years or 5 years. Having the option to do something different sometimes can be somewhat a stop point, because how do you step back and think about things differently? So I know that we had some conversations and some chats about structuring and how to try and do some things, and then you went off and tried some things that didn't work, and then we came back. So I'm glad that in the end we've got a structure that works for you. But yeah, it can be challenging, and aside from just the technological part of the platform, but getting the structure and the idea together of how you want to present it and who your users are and where they're at. So I'm happy to hear that it wasn't too difficult, but it was also once you got into the process, it all started to make sense. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but hopefully that's what happened.
No, literally, that's exactly how it was. And it it's just like riding a bike, and it just took that one moment for it to finally click, and then we were able to get through the process. And now I don't know how we even used our old system or structure.
Can I quote you on that one?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about personalization when we kind of first started this chat. How have you taken the personalization of with the branding or with the different type of content that you've done, or maybe even the structures?
And so we truly just being able to, we have so many resources with our marketing team and with just the restaurants in general. And so, the personalization side of it, we're able to really formalize our schemes, formalize our coloring, formalize a lot of things that we've always had. We just never had a platform to be able to do it. And so being able to utilize SparkLearn has been something where we can actually bring our imaging to life. And that's what we've done with all of SparkLearn, from our branding imaging to our logos to, having the tools to be able to put our locations and visually on there. So it looks like when we are logging in, our trainees are understanding. They're like, oh, I've been to that restaurant. I've been there. I see it. This is what I'm doing. So it really made it more of a personal connection, so they could see physically that this was part of the company. It's always been part of the company, which is what we've always wanted.
Right. And I know it's very important for you've got multiple brands, and that can be difficult. And it's good that your learners can understand the particular style or look for their brand and their particular concept where they're working. So being able to separate them out a little bit, I know we've worked on quite a bit to make sure that each concept or each restaurant has their own brand, and it fits, and the language is right, and the materials are right, which can also be challenging, right? Making sure you're sticking on your own brand standards.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned a little bit about bringing over some older content, and what we see a lot of times is people will start off with just dumping a content in as it is. If you've got PDFs or existing e-learning, but then what will happen is people will start to modify a little bit. Can you kind of take me through how you went through content? Did you initially start with the existing content and just put that in, and then are you starting to do some modifications to it to fit the users and the platform a little bit better? What's been kind of your path with that?
Absolutely. That actually is directly what happened, was that we took our old content and was just putting it in and realizing that this wasn't necessarily really learning conducive. And also, one thing that was really eye-opening for us was that because we have so many brands, we were making so much content that was actually the same information, but with just slightly different words, and realizing, why are we working so hard? And so it was really more of an aha moment for us to realize that, right now we're using this for our management team. And so managers really have the same ideals, same learning perspective, because they're all managers. And so why, if it's the same for the host at the 555 is the same for the host at the Water Grill, why do we have two different pieces? And so that really was something that was eye-opening for us. So that way now we brought that back to our teams to be able to say, how can we streamline this? Why do we need to all have different pieces? And so SparkLearn actually made us realize overall for all of our content that we don't need to be so separated, even though we have so many concepts, and which has been our goal all along, is to really just commonize all of our learning, our statements, our wording, so that we have that common message. And SparkLearn has really been that avenue to make us as a company really realize that, which has been something that's been really amazing for us overall, something that we've changed and we've never done before. And so those were all pieces that really helped us to be able to commonize that. But we've done multiple things. From video learning has been, I think, the biggest thing, that we've had pieces that are from YouTubes that we've put out there. We've used them before, but now we actually have scheduled photo shoots and video shoots to be able to show different types of learning, a more of a tell, show, do, and review side of it. So that way that we can tell our managers, what to do, show them, have them review it, and have them do it. So that way that it's visually there for them. And we would not have been able to do that without the use of SparkLearn.
Oh, that's great. And I know, as we've been talking through your content and taking some reviews at it, initially, first, you were just putting a lot of the same content out and in duplicates, but with maybe small changes. And I think it's really nice to be able to standardize the things that should be standardized and then branch off for the specifics. You've got the fast casual versus the high end. There's going to be some differences there. But if you have a lot of the same materials that are the basis of that, that can be standardized, which makes it so much easier for you and for updates and for your learners, hopefully as well.
Absolutely.
Great, great. So I know you've recently started. You've been rolling out the platform to smaller groups of users at a time. Start small, and then kind of we like to call it walk, run. Sorry, crawl, walk, run. I didn't even say it right. Starting with a smaller group of users, and then launching out to more and more users in the past month or so. How's that been going? Have you started to get some feedback yet from your users? I'm just kind of curious as to what your learners are seeing.
Yeah, so far the feedback has been relatively very positive. It's been easy to use. I think the ease of the use of it has been really what's been the most beneficial. Also, being able to see learning from a different perspective, where it's been our whole career is very much pen and paper, words are written down. And so this is a way for us to really have more interaction with our managers and with our trainers and our trainees. And so we've been seeing better results on more of a practical side of it, which I think that it was more learn, teach, do, and now they have that practicality. And so that right now it's been very positive on being able to the ease of using it, and of course, just overall learning. And so pretty much.
Okay, and a kind of a follow-up on that, and you might not have this as an answer at this point. We may need to do another one of these calls. But with a smaller group of users start so far, have you started to look at the data in the back end yet much, other than just some anecdotal to analyze what your users are doing and start to do some analysis on your content? You may not have yet. I know we're pretty new in the process, but I'm just curious if you've done much with that yet.
Not quite yet. I know that we've just been really truly training also our general managers and our directors and our operations teams as well on just what to look at. I think the biggest thing that's been the most beneficial on the reporting side of it is looking at the quizzes. I think that, utilizing quizzes and validating their knowledge has been a piece that has been really crucial, because we can see how many times people have failed a quiz or how many times they've gotten it right, and just certain questions. And so that side of it has really been the most impactful. Yes, it's only been a few users, so we're not getting as much data, but the fact that being able to see that side of it can help us and make a change later on. And so that's really the most of what we've used. But I do know that the general managers especially have been very thankful to be able to see these sides. They can then focus on their managers and see what do they need to learn and what else do they need to do.
Yeah, and I think that as you get into it, as you get more users in, you'll use it more and be able to start to really dive into some of the data, not only on the users, but on the content, and see what's working, what might not be working, and make some changes. So hopefully, maybe we'll do another one of these calls in 6 months when we've got some more user data in there, and we can kind of review that again.
Definitely.
So Alyssa, thanks for all that information. I'm super happy that things have been working out really well. I'm glad that you're getting launched out to your users, and we're getting some data in, and you're starting to see some change that you've been able to make. I guess the last question I'd like to ask is, if you were talking to other new users or people that were starting to think about SparkLearn, what would be your top 3 insights of things to look out for or to try, or what worked for you, and what would be some insights that you might have for somebody new?
Really great question. I think the first thing is really just to trust the process, that your team really does know what they're doing, as much as, we feel as the content that we know and we have the best in class, but there are a lot of things that you can bring, that we come to you because you brought to the table, because you have so many items that we can use. And so really just trusting the process. Another thing is just like not being afraid to ask questions. Your team has been really wonderful on anything that I've brought to the table. You've said, let me see if I could try to make that happen. There was never a hard no. And so not being afraid to ask those questions. And then really the third is just finding your brand. And so finding a name that's going to really fit within your brand, an image that's going to be really great with you, and then focusing on that, because that's what people see in this platform first and foremost. Of course, we want them to have the learning content and be able to utilize that, but really the imaging is what brings people in. So it makes them feel excited about the program, and you've given us that opportunity and to be able to make that happen. And so those are really the things I would suggest for anybody looking forward to joining SparkLearn.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear, and I appreciate it. We strive to really service our customers and listen. And as we've talked about, and as you've mentioned, you've had some things that you wanted to add or make changes to in the platform, and we've got some things in process. So we're always in process, and a very active roadmap, as you know, for changes and things that hopefully make the platform better. So we appreciate your feedback and your suggestions as well. So it's a two-way street. So on that, I will say thanks for doing the call with us today. Appreciate it. It's always good to see you. And yeah, thanks for being a customer. And we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay.